Do you want to learn how to steal customer credit card information from major retailers so you can buy anything you want?
Well, we can't help you with that. But among the many IT problems we solve, Barracuda's award-winning firewalls prevent hackers from taking your valuable data to the bank. Reclaim your network like 150,000 other businesses have. To learn more about protecting customer data and your reputation, visit barracuda.com/firewalls.
Hey, what's up? Russillo, Peter Rosenberg in studio today. RG3, is he really the second worst starting quarterback in the NFL? By the way, thanks for downloading this podcast. Our ratings are through the roof already after just 3 weeks. We're really just building this little project here, but, man, thanks for the support. That Marin dude is next. DeAndre Jordan, is it okay for Chandler Parsons to call him out? NBA one-on-one game/tournament idea, Brian Windhorst on that, and also this crazy fallout from the Mavericks thing. The Hardy suspension has been reduced. That segment wasn't great. Herm Edwards, ESPN NFL analyst, and Outsiders rap quiz, including Peter grading ESPN radio talent's ability to rap.
Now, it's the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio.
And ESPNRadio.com.
Peter Rosenberg in studio from Hot 97 FM, hanging out another day today. And the thing is, the reason I bring all that up, Peter, is because you seem very relaxed. You know, it's an interesting world to jump into on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We don't know each other. They have us hang out. We do a show. It goes well. Felt good about the last couple of days. But I've noticed your comfort level has definitely increased, not both on the air, but just general attire.
What are you referring to?
What kind of wrestling shirt are we talking about over there?
This is a very rare 1992 original, authentic, real shirt that was sold in the UK for when Bret Hart was like feuding with Ric Flair. This is very uncommon. So you think this is me dressing down? This is me dressing up.
Right, but today, hat on back. Yesterday, you went almost like you were trying out for Lucky for the Celtics.
With the full Celtics uniform.
Full Celtics. Same shorts today, just crushed a dozen wings before the show started, and hat on backwards. So
Hey, don't watch me. Watch TV, Russillo. You notice everything I'm doing over here.
I like that you're this comfortable with yourself after only 3 days. I think it's incredible.
I'm really upset that you noticed that I crushed literally close to a dozen wings. It might have been 11. And I honestly remember yesterday I talked about the importance of the index finger.
I saw it.
And you saw, that index finger when it comes to crushing those barbecue wings, that's a thing.
Right, and it just, honestly, it feels like show research. So I don't blame you at all. Peter, in studio today, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN app, Sirius XM, Channel 83. We're on ESPN News until 2:30 Eastern. So here's where we want to start because we have a lot we want to get to. We have a new game, and it's really just a theory. It's a topic, and I tweeted about it this morning. NBA. We were talking about tennis players and golfers and that kind of thing, and you go, well, how do you even compare the dominance? And everything can be more difficult. Let's make it very simple. If the NBA season didn't exist and NBA players, the greatest players in the world, just played in a series of one-on-one tournaments all year long, say there was 25 that you would get into, how many would LeBron win? Who else would be part of it? So we're going to do that a little bit later, but I want to start with something from the MMQB, Sports Illustrated, Andy Benoit, who I actually credit for doing this. He said, look, we were driving back for something. We started trying to talk about where Colin Kaepernick is, and he just went ahead and ranked the starting quarterbacks 1 through 32 on the piece. Now, the top of the order, Brady, Rodgers, you can figure it out. But what drives you crazy, and what we really talked about yesterday, Peter, was that RG3, your guy, your Redskins starting quarterback, was 31 out of 32, ahead of only the Bills situation.
Yeah. It's an absolute absurdity. Let me be very clear. I am the most biased person imaginable on this subject, okay? I'm an obsessed Redskins fan, as horrible as we are, and I love RG3 personally and professionally. However, the idea that the only person he's ahead of on this list is Matt Castle, and that in front of him, Marcus Mariota, who's never taken a snap, Josh McCown, Brian Hoyer, Geno Smith, Jameis Winston, Blake Bortles.
Easy. Don't go too far here.
That's it. I'm going to stop right there. The fact that all those names are ahead of a guy who, let's be clear, you can argue had the greatest rookie quarterbacking season in NFL history. You can argue that. I cannot imagine, even though the last 2 years have been bad, you can look at the statistics, they weren't as bad as they're being portrayed. He has just become, people love to tear down the guy who's built up. RG3 was built up, and his tear down has been iconic.
Couple things. I have a friend that argues about how great Derrick Rose is all the time, and all he says is he's the youngest MVP in the history of the game. That's an awesome thing on your resume. It doesn't change who you are today. And today, RG3 isn't just an unknown. It seems like a guy the league has kind of figured out, and he also seems to be a guy who's kind of stubborn. So here's where philosophically we have to decide where we're going to be on this thing.
Okay.
Do you believe RG3 is this quarterback that's just been treated poorly and they've screwed him up, or is he as much to blame for his regression since his rookie year?
I think RG3 has made a bunch of mistakes, particularly with the stubbornness that you alluded to, and the fact that he has created a circumstance in which so many people are rooting for him to lose.
Right, but he flat out said, after something that worked, I don't want to play that way anymore.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, I still fault the franchise for that. To me,
I see this glow. I see this Redskins glow in your eyes.
To me, everything about Robert Griffin III was ruined by the Redskins. Case in point, okay?
Okay.
We would all agree that coming out of college, Colin Kaepernick and Robert Griffin III, from a personality standpoint, we would all agree Robert Griffin III was the way more likable of the two.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was out there far more. Kaepernick's at a smaller school in Nevada.
But when we started,
Kaepernick's success probably was as surprising to me as any single quarterback out of college the last few years.
But a lot of
early success.
But a lot of Niners fans, from a personality standpoint, were like, "This kid's the worst." Now, as time has gone on,
why? Because he put on a Dolphins hat?
Because we're in the open.
I mean,
shirt.
I don't think he's a terrible guy. Just a little thirsty on Instagram.
Yeah, and a little bit of just There's so many words that I'm not allowed to say here that I want to use to describe him. You see my eyes. Anyways, the point is this, though. In San Francisco, as much dysfunction as they've happened to have the last couple years, he's a guy who has improved personally off the field. Robert Griffin III in Washington, who's a great kid, and you and I talked about this, whether you dislike how he operates, a nice guy. He's morally a good person.
Goes out of his way to look. I would never say RG3's a bad guy ever, and I've interacted with him a couple times, and nothing but classy the whole way through.
So how is it? How bad does a franchise have to be where not only do you get him injured from poor coaching, but you
wait a minute? How does he get himself injured?
No, wait. Coach Shanahan got him injured.
When Haloti Ngata hit his knee when he was running in the open field?
Well, that wasn't what that ultimately when he came back in the game against
Seattle. Seattle in the playoffs?
That shouldn't have happened. I don't care how stubborn a kid Robert Griffin III was. That just shouldn't have happened. And by the way,
that was bad. Okay, I thought you meant the initial injury.
But this is Dan Snyder who has entitled Robert Griffin III. And this is my point. I'm not saying RG3 is not flawed. He's very flawed. And if he doesn't prove something early in Washington, it's over for him. I know that, in Washington at least. This experiment only goes 6-7 games if he doesn't look like he's made an improvement. But ultimately, the idea that he has, with what he's accomplished so far, and if you look at him statistically, to put him behind Brian Hoyer and Josh McCown, to me that's trolling. That's trolling. This is a guy, and as a Redskins fan, I got to tell you, this is a guy who created the most joy for this franchise in 20 years.
But that doesn't mean anything to everybody else when you're ranking these quarterbacks. The fun you had with him and that magical playoff run in the rookie year, and it wasn't a magical playoff run actually once you were in the playoffs, it was just a great season. Out of nowhere, you're going, man, we're going to be in this thing. And I went down to D.C. for that Eagles game, the Monday nighter. The return game. And I saw it, I'm like, this is like religion down here, man. This is weird, but it was kind of great. Like, you kind of understood all of it, except that this is just going on too long. So I think look, you're insulted that he's basically ranked the second worst starting situation of anybody going into next year, right?
Yes.
Where would you put him?
I would put Robert around 25 right now in the position of Blake Bortles.
All right.
That is where that's not. And by the way, on this list, his ceiling is. We would put potentially. His ceiling to me is still much higher than that. But realistically, where he is around 25. He is not 31.
I think he's on another team in 2016.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, I got news for you. That's my second favorite team. That's my new second favorite team. Wherever that team is, that's where I'm going.
Peter Rosenberg in studio, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. And by the way, go to MMQB.SI, and it's Andy Benoit. And the thing is he went ahead and put together a list, and I love it. This is it's an easy out list. And for everybody that's going to argue about lists, go ahead and do your 1 through 32. I would still have Rodgers 1 over Brady. They went with Brady 1, Rodgers 2.
Rodgers is 1.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's a better quarterback. I wouldn't put Flacco 8 and Matt Ryan 9. I just like Ryan more than Flacco, but I know that Flacco has the ring, so that's what everybody's going to tell me. And then he also has Russell Wilson 12th, which I'm sure was extremely unpopular. But I like this list that he wasn't going with the default. Who has the most rings? Let's start there and go 1 through 6, and then we'll plug in the rest of the pieces.
I can't believe Russell Wilson is 6 behind Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger, who is a winner but has the most disgusting lines in the history of football. That's shocking to me. I think Russell – I don't know. People are going to continue – we are going to see that these guys, these athletic quarterbacks, kind of continue to get slept on, regardless of results.
Still slept on? I don't know. I feel like there's been a correction on a lot of these guys.
But why? I mean, and obviously, it's just one man. It's just Andy Benoit. But why would Russell Wilson, a guy who's clearly such a winner, be at 12?
Because, well, I'm sure Andy, what he's doing here is going, you know what? Just because he has the Super Bowl appearances the last 2 years, I don't know that he's the complete quarterback some of the other players are. I think Wilson's really good. It also tells you how deep this position is now.
Yeah.
Because you start getting down to 17 and 18 in some of these names, and you're going, that's not a terrible option. Derek Carr, 19, a little high. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed is at Russillo Shore, at Russillo Show. Russillo Shore has not been taken yet. At Rosenberg Radio. Surprise somebody special with a gift just because from 1-800-Flowers.com. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN for exclusive offers starting at $29.99. When a player calls out another player, what are the rules for you to accept it?
The Russillo Show.
Like the easiest thing to do is a guy prints a list and rip it apart. That's not what we're doing. We just get fanboy over here upset that RG3's not
That's right.
26th best quarterback.
Instead of 31. 31's too far. That is going too far, in my opinion.
I like the fight. You know what? I think I might be with you. I think 31's a little
You think 31?
disrespectful.
Thank you.
You know, I don't think you can put anybody. I would take RG3 this year over Geno Smith. Make you feel better?
Yeah, and Geno, by the way, isn't 30. Geno's like 27. So you just moved him up a few slots.
Yeah. Well, who knows what's going to happen by the end of the show? You got 3 hours to work on me today.
Dude, I could get RG3 to 19 by the end of the day.
No way.
Not 19?
No way. Over Derek Carr? Did you see Derek Carr last year?
I don't want to talk about Derek Carr.
Okay.
And I'm not going to.
I want to ask you about something in sports and how it relates to music. And I just love talking with you, with your background, about, just the confrontations. I'm a confrontational guy. So we know that yesterday Chandler Parsons with the Mavs told ESPN.com, our Tim McMahon, not Jim McMahon.
Yep.
He basically said this about DeAndre Jordan, going back to Clippers. Quote, he wasn't ready to be a franchise player. He was scared. He was scared to take the next step in his career. There was no other reason than that he was comfortable and he has friendships there. Blah, 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 blah. The point that everybody's getting to is that he wasn't ready to be a franchise player. He was scared. Can Chandler Parsons say that? What are the rules? Does that work for you?
Well, my gut reaction is to come out and say Chandler Parsons, who's not a franchise guy, can't say that someone else isn't a franchise guy. However, statistically speaking, him and DeAndre are in the, at least somewhat in the same category.
So if we're going points per game, they're the same guy, tier-wise?
So, they're relatively in the same tier. We know, fine, DeAndre's higher, but they're not so distant that he can't speak about him. So I'm trying to think of a rap comparison.
Right, it's not Chucky Atkins calling out Allen Iverson.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not that.
What is a rap comparison?
Well, like no one, you can't call out Hove at all unless you're Eminem. Eminem could, obviously. It would still be debatable, but he's in a category too. Like Kanye couldn't even call out Hove. You have to be in such a high category to call out someone that great. But let's take it down because we're not talking about Hove, right?
What about Phife Dawg? He could probably call him out.
No, he absolutely could not.
What?
No, and I love Phife, but unfortunately, I know he's your favorite, but he could not. Phife could not call out Hove. But if you go down from Hove, let's talk about who's a more reasonable
contemporary of his.
No, like someone just.
Well, what if Kendrick Lamar called out Jay-Z?
Well, Kendrick Lamar is second to RG3 in terms of people I'm a fanboy of.
That one makes more sense to me.
Well, I know his follow-up was much better than RG3's. No, I was going to say instead of Jay-Z, let's scale it down to someone who's more DeAndre Jordan level.
Exactly, because we shouldn't be doing that.
Right, because DeAndre's not Jay-Z.
It's not LeBron.
It's not LeBron. So who is DeAndre Jordan in rap is the question, right? Who's a very good, serviceable, above-average rapper?
Ludacris.
Outside of Mike.
Bringing in. When Ludacris is right, when it's fun, it's a lot of fun.
I know, but Ludacris would be like if it was a veteran. You got to go with someone. This is someone who's newer. DeAndre's young. So,
Pusha T?
Pusha T's very good.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's very good. So
he's not as popular.
For sure. Okay, let's say Pusha T. I think Pusha T's better in rap than DeAndre Jordan is in basketball. But you know what? He doesn't have the hits.
I agree with you, by the way.
All right, so let's say Pusha T, though.
Should we have done someone maybe more people have heard of?
I think we could just do this all day. This is fun.
Just try to figure out who this is going to be.
I would guess 3 hours of this isn't going to go over well upstairs. But anyway. Well,
the point is, you can't call someone out if you're levels and levels below them. However, if you're generally in the same level and you say they're scared, I think that's reasonable. I do.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We're here with Peter Rosenberg in studio, the Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. He may not be wrong, but it always feels like you got to be really good if you're going to do this. If Dirk said this,
I'm a shirt and slack kind of guy.
not just about fashion, but if Dirk said I thought he was scared and he wanted to be a franchise guy, I don't think anybody has a problem with it today. Right? If you're good and you've won,
You're a franchise guy. I mean,
I don't have an issue. And if you're accurate, if you're trying to be accurate, if this isn't out of nowhere. Parsons has only been with him a year. He left Houston, but he left for more money, so it wasn't like it was even similar to what happened with DeAndre Jordan. I am just truly fascinated, whether it's sports or the music, people at work. Like, who do you think I at work could get into a beef with where people think Colin and I go at it all the time? But there's a lot of people like, you shouldn't be talking to Colin.
you probably shouldn't be. And I think you're Mage, by the way. I think you're Mage. But
I don't, by the way, can you just let me know what that means? Because everybody.
been tweeting it, a lot of tweets.
Yeah.
Mage means like major.
Oh, that's it? I thought it had to be far more complicated.
No, it doesn't. There's Mage and Major Jace, but you're not Major Jace. You're Mage. But you know what Colin is? Colin's like Major. Like, you're Mage. Colin he's Major. So I don't know if you could. Like I told you, like I've been saying all week, and you won't listen to me. Even though SVP is definitively more Mage than you, because you guys were co-hosts, you can call out SVP. And that's what you should do.
I don't want to do it. He and I had a lovely chat last night at his home. I brought a gift. I played with his kids for a little while.
This is the perfect time to strike.
Yeah, now he's not expecting anything. By the way, I pluralized that. He still only has one kid. Not sure why I did it. Outsider, you seem to perk right up, though, when he said that I'm not at Colin's level and that I can't. Like, that would be like Parsons calling out Chris Paul or something.
Yes.
I've been hoping to do when Colin really went at it for like a while now.
Well, no, that being said,
He always comes up with them when they take airplane rides, though, and stuff. It's
Once.
the perfect. The perfect.
outsider, listen, I agree with you.
Chums up.
It's what you should do. Because to elevate yourself, you don't be. Listen, when I got into a feud with Nicki Minaj, I elevated. She made the mistake of scrapping with someone way beneath her, and it benefited me. That's what you have to draw someone into.
Now, who can I beef with? Can I beef with the Colin, or is that too high?
You should beef with the guy who works at Subway.
Oh.
That is.
Oh, man. Hey, look, we can do that to our pledges. You know.
Sorry. Just kidding, outsider Mike. It was just
Subway mention, at least.
Yeah. You know what?
Perfect. Yes.
Speaking of which.
The Subway mention. By the way, all of our guests are on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. With Choice Hotels, you always have a choice. Your fantasy football league can enter to win the opportunity of a lifetime, a draft day at ESPN headquarters with fantasy guru Matthew Berry. Go to ESPN.com and search Choice Hotels to learn more. You good? After you just crushed our boy?
I'm sorry. That just fell right into my lap. It was so good. I'm sorry. And also, I know I kind of am already feuding with him because I know later today, I know he's been spending like 24 hours trying to come up with questions to make me look bad on ESPN Radio to prove that I'm a hack.
No, I don't think he's. I think he's going to be nice.
Pretty fair, Mike.
Well,
please.
he was going to be nice to you.
Yeah, I know. Actually, might have been a terrible decision.
By the way, just so everybody knows, the people at Subway staff, tremendous.
Yeah, 100%.
Sandwich artists.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
So this is the idea that we kind of kicked around yesterday. And we kicked it around really because you're in love with Serena Williams.
I just think what Serena's doing right now is it's getting close to so beyond epic. Like, how often you get to see someone in individual sports on the verge of becoming the greatest ever? I mean, we all agree that there's not another female tennis player in history who could have probably beaten her consistently, right?
No, I think that's the evolution, though.
But that's the evolution of the game.
Right.
But now
she's something else, too.
But now she's going to surpass in tournaments everyone. And what I love about it is that her comeback recently. Remember when Agassi came back? He went from like 190 in the world to being amazing again. It's like she did that. She never fell off that bad, but her ascent was so much higher. She went back to being the best she's ever been by far. I just think it's so incredibly fun to watch and think about who else is at her level in sports.
Well, it's really hard to do it with people in team sports because you just don't have the opportunity to win that many times. So if you were looking at it in tennis, and I know golf is different because you're playing the course and going up against other people, but it was just something we were kicking around last night and said, well, okay, what if there was no NBA? What if there was no NBA? And you just looked at the best players in the world, and maybe there's 30 events, and maybe a guy like LeBron plays in, say, 25 events, and it was single elimination, one-on-one basketball tournaments. So there you go. The team element is out of it. Would he be as dominant as a Serena or as someone who's been as dominant in that kind of sport? I know golf is a little bit different, but if you think of Tiger, would LeBron win 20 of the 25 one-on-one tournaments he would enter in a season?
Well, I mean, hold on. Let's be clear. First of all, does Serena get close to that?
No.
Right? She doesn't get close.
No.
She wins a lot.
That's what I'm trying. I'm trying to think of a way where you would go, because you can't do the thing where it's like, well, Serena's winning more. And like, you also get a chance for kind of like 4 rings.
Well, so what if there were 4?
Season?
Okay, so let's say in your made-up world, there's 4 big ones, the 4 majors, right?
Fine. So there's 30 events. You play in 20 to 25. You get 4 big ones at it. I don't know who's beating him. And I'm not just saying that because he's the best player, but then when you think of him as a one-on-one player in the game of basketball, forget it. I love Steph Curry. Steph Curry's got no shot. I mean, maybe, one day the shots are just going down. It's ridiculous.
But how does he get the shots off?
All right, let's go. Play to 11, normal rules, 1s and 2s, and people want to make this way more complicated. Just stop. There are no weight classes. It's just the guys.
No.
And yes, I'm angry about all the tweets that want to change the game. People play to 11, 1s and 2s. That's the way it is, and it's always winners out. So if it's winners out and Steph gets real hot, could he beat people? Sure, I'll give you that. But what I'm saying, more often than not, I'd be shocked if LeBron didn't win 75% of them.
Well, here's my question real quick, because Steph is who popped into my mind also. Because, like, yesterday we were talking off air about how Steph, if he wanted to, could probably score 50 points in basketball games on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
He's an incredible scorer. But if LeBron, you know how it is when someone D's you up who's way bigger one-on-one? If LeBron...
Actually, it doesn't happen, so I don't know.
Yeah, good point. You are actually huge. If LeBron steps out on him, how does he get the shot off?
If LeBron steps out on Steph, like I'm not worried about Steph getting a shot off because his dribble sets up his space to get the shot off. How is he guarding LeBron? LeBron's just going to back him down and turn and shoot over him every time. I'm telling you, he's got no shot there. So if I went through it, say it was 128 players, it could be 64 players, but just for our purposes, instead of ranking 128 guys, it'd be like in the 3rd round LeBron plays. I just went through the top 16 guys, kind of best players, best scorers, and that kind of deal. If you went 1 through 16, LeBron, Durant, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, I think, is a really interesting one. I think Anthony Davis could win a couple tournaments because he'd be so long that in certain games against LeBron, like he could get him to 11 probably, right?
I think Durant's in that conversation too.
Durant absolutely is. I guess it's tough because I'm still really worried about that foot, but let's do make-believe healthy.
He's healthy.
Durant that we've seen throughout most of his career. Durant's getting a couple of those.
Yeah.
So we're saying LeBron gets most. You're with me. Durant gets a couple. I think Anthony Davis is a sneak tip one. Who else wins a couple of these?
I mean, obviously, the man who's winning second. There's only one man who could win as many as LeBron. DeAndre Jordan. Obviously. I mean, he's been the talk of the town for 3 days.
He get all the touches.
Honestly,
that was well done.
Tell me who else. You tell me who pops in your mind that could do it. You know more than me.
A lot of people brought up Kawhi Leonard. I don't think Kawhi can score enough one-on-one to do this. Now, his defense would be terrific, but the way I did it, Kawhi would be playing, say, a LeBron or a Durant in the first round. If you just did, say, 16 guys, he'd obviously advance against other people. Harden, if it was call your own foul, Harden would have a chance, but we'd have to have rest for this. Because if it was call your own foul for this, the games would take 4 hours. It would make baseball look quick.
That would be amazing, by the way. There's nothing that could make me happier than seeing an NBA player just like, ball, and walking back to the free throw line.
Right, just respect my call, screaming the entire time. Van Pelt has a great respect my call yell. You know who I think would be a sneak tip guy to put down for maybe a couple events? He'd get a couple tournaments out on the tour, would be Russell Westbrook. Because I think he would play at a level that would be so horrifying, and it wouldn't be just him, that he'd find a way to get through one of these tournaments and win the whole thing.
That would be very impressive. But it could happen. You could have a day. Well, it's all about matchups. It's all about who he gets. He's not ending up against LeBron, obviously. That's when LeBron gets bounced early somehow. He ends up against, like, Durant or someone who he knows very well and can play them differently. Because Westbrook's never beating LeBron. LeBron would pick him up and throw him. Physically, he would step on him.
Right. And that's the thing. If I went 1 through 16 and go, okay, 1 plays 16, and over that would be LeBron would play Kawhi, Durant would play Klay Thompson.
Can I throw someone in here?
Yeah.
Can we play fantasy now?
Is he in the top 16?
Not right now, but he's in the top 16 most favoritist players of every red-blooded American.
I hope he still plays.
He doesn't. He does some stuff, but he doesn't.
Is it Jeff Malone?
I love Jeff Malone.
I figured.
Where does AI end up in this?
Okay.
The best pound-for-pound player of all time.
AI would probably find a way to get a couple of these things, even though it seems ridiculous. Because if he ran into a Marc Gasol, like say, or the equivalent of Marc Gasol in his day, because Marc Gasol, in the ways that I did some of this stuff, like Marc Gasol would play James Harden in this tournament. That might be brutal for James Harden.
It might be.
Right? Now, DeMarcus Cousins plays Chris Paul. DeMarcus Cousins is winning that one. But yeah, AI versus the big guys of his time, if he had to go up against Shaq, like I don't know. Would he hit enough free throws wide open over Shaq? Because he doesn't have to ever drive to the hoop, or would Shaq
and
just go?
He was so fast when it comes to creating his space. He was so fast for creating shots. Although I think Steph is the best step back shooter I've ever seen. So
the best shot you have at this is being that big wing. Like that's the way you get it done. And LeBron could play both. And that's why I think when you look at LeBron, it'd be scary how much more successful he'd be at this than the other stuff. You know what else is worth bringing up? And it's not going to go over, is Melo. Melo would be great in this.
Oh, of course.
Because he's big and he can shoot.
Who would argue against that? The biggest problem.
People that hate him.
Yeah, well, guess what? Those people are idiots. If you have a problem with Carmelo's team play, no problem. I get it. It's tough for him to fit in sometimes. Questioning Carmelo's skills or his ability one-on-one, he can do everything. There's nothing he couldn't do.
Yeah, and then people would be like, well, what about him defensively? Well, at that point, he kind of has no choice.
He's going to have to D up.
You'd think you'd figure out your assignment. It's the other guy.
Exactly. You can't get lost.
Peter Rosenberg at studio. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, it's at Russillo Show. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. So hit us up at Russillo Show for your thoughts on that one as we fly through the rest of the day. So we do not have more on the quarterback stuff with Andy Benoit, correct? Not next. Doc Rivers, his audio, extremely protective of his guy, and I know exactly why, even though I disagree with Doc on some of the stuff. And also, one of the worst parts of the Le Batard show yesterday, I can't wait to play it for you, unless we're not allowed to, but I'm not going to ask for permission. So I'm fired up to do that.
The Russillo Show.
Let me soak you in my mentals here for a second. Ryan, I know you were listening to the show a little bit earlier. We were having a little make-believe thing as things wind down here a little bit. So say there were no NBA season. Say it were just a series of one-on-one tournaments like golf or tennis where there's 30 tournaments or 30 events. You decide to get in 20 to 25 of them. Say LeBron played in 25 one-on-one tournaments with all the current NBA players in it. How many would he win a year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be like, you know how in golf there's like some situations where like the bombers may win in 1 week and then the next week like the guys who hit it straight may win. I think it would be a situation where he would win a lot when his power game was working because he just plays straight power. But then there would be other weeks, where Steph Curry, because he's unguardable on the shot, he creates space where he's going to win. And it would just they would trade the trophy back and forth. But I have to tell you, the guy who I picked, and one of my favorite memories I've ever had covering the NBA was last summer at Team USA camp in Vegas. They were there for a week. And it was before Paul George unfortunately broke his leg. At the end of every practice, Paul George, James Harden, and Kevin Durant would have essentially like a King of the Mountain little thing where they would play each other one-on-one. And if you would keep the ball until you missed. And I watched Kevin Durant absolutely take those dudes apart. He'd stand at the top of the key, and, he's 6'11", and he'd pull up and drill like a 20-footer. Or he'd run down the lane and throw a hook shot in from 18 feet. Or he'd drive. I mean, Paul George and James Harden were working their tails off. And it was at the highest level. They were seriously full-on competing. And they could not stop Durant because he's like the combination of Curry and LeBron. He can drive, and he can also pull up, and he's so long. So that would be my pick to win the majority of them if it was a 25-circuit event or whatever.
All right. Wow. So you would say Durant would get more in a season if healthy over LeBron even. See, the thing about – Go ahead.
I can't tell you how enjoyable that was to watch. It was fascinating, and they couldn't stop him. Couldn't stop him.
Because as much as I love Steph, he's not doing anything with LeBron once LeBron has it in his hands. Like, he's just going to back him down.
That's right. But Curry might be able to hit 10 straight two-pointers or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, I said, it just matters. But I'm telling you, Durant's my pick after seeing that.
Who, historically, and I'm sorry, I'm such a...
Do it, yeah.
If you go back, for a little guy, who would be the most likely little guy to somehow pull off some tournament wins? I mentioned AI earlier. I think Nash is an interesting one to think about because he's so crafty. But who do you like historically?
Well, AI was so incredible at creating space. So, like, if he was playing bigger guys, he'd have to create that space. But, AI is an interesting case study because if AI played today, he'd be looked at completely differently than when he played. Because now people would complain endlessly about how inefficient he was. So, I don't know. I mean, some people would say, it depends on your definition of a little guy. I don't know. It's a good question. I have to think about that.
Ryen Windhorst hanging out with us, Peter Rosenberg in studio. Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. So let's get to some of the new stuff here. We know LeBron is coming back. We all knew he was coming back. It's the one-on-one. They're going to work out the Tristan Thompson thing. What potential moves could there still be out there for the Cavs with the Haywood contract or some of these other pieces that you hear that are being floated out?
Yeah, so and I think they had this discussion. I think they've set aside this for now, but I do think they looked over the edge at trading for Joe Johnson. And the idea was they could trade Brendan Haywood's contract and probably Anderson Varejao, and the reason that would be interesting to the Nets would be that would be enough if they waived Haywood to get them underneath the tax threshold. And, you would have had a starting lineup, of Kyrie Irving, Joe Johnson, LeBron James, Kevin Love, and Timo Mozgov. And, have a pretty good bench coming off, Tristan Thompson, Iman Shumpert. And I think they seriously considered it, and I think they ran the numbers and felt like they may be able to do just as good as Joe Johnson without spending $25 million on him. So I think that they're looking at those. They need another wing player. And at the end of the day, they may just arrive at re-signing J.R. Smith. But I don't think they're going to re-sign J.R. Smith at a 3-year contract for $24 million, which would be about what he would want, I'm sure, after seeing Aaron Aflalo getting the same deal with the Knicks. So I think that they considered that, but they're now looking at other options. They tried to get Jamal Crawford from the Clippers when the Clippers were reeling in the wake of DeAndre Jordan's departure. The Clippers stayed away from that trade. So that's the kind of guy they're looking for. So the idea is that they want J.R. Smith or a player like him to, be one of their backup wings. And, they added Mo Williams, who is a nice addition for $2 million. But, the number that they keep coming back to, and I understand why they do it, is after January last year when Love, Kyrie, and LeBron all played, they were 33-3. And that's a pretty powerful number. And so you can see why they feel like that core, if they're healthy, can be extremely formidable next season.
Any more fallout on the DeAndre Jordan thing? Conversations with teams? Just, it's just kind of fun to talk with teams and get that kind of reaction from them.
I got to tell you, the stunning thing from the fallout had nothing to do with the Clippers, and that was that Wes Matthews got upgraded to a max contract. And it has nothing to do with Wes Matthews. The idea that he's coming off an Achilles and the Mavericks, basically as a thank you for not walking away from this contract, took him from 4-57 to 4-70, coming off an Achilles when they didn't have to do that. I am just floored by that. When he got offered $64 million by the Kings, people thought that was a crazy contract, and he turned it down. And so I'm stunned by that decision from the Mavericks, and I wonder if they're not going to regret using that money this year elsewhere to help their team. I'm numb. I think the other thing is when you talk to executives in the league, they say that something like this was coming, and it will happen again, because right now tampering is rampant. That's completely unchecked by the league. The league doesn't care about it. These players are all setting up 6, 7, 8 meetings by the last week of June, and we know about it. I mean, think about what's going on behind the scenes. So why wouldn't the Clippers continue to recruit, continue to push for DeAndre Jordan even after he had a verbal, when it was the Mavericks who were allowing Chandler Parsons to meet with them and basically pitch the Mavericks to him before July 1st? And I know that the David Stern rule was that players can talk to players, but if you go by the letter of the law, if you are a player, you can certainly talk to a player, but you can't recruit them to your team before July 1st. And those rules have just been totally thrown out the window. And they may placate some people with some changes to the moratorium that would theoretically make a difference in the next season. But it won't matter. You can't legislate a guy changing his mind, and the league loves all this action, and they have no problem with all the tampering.
All right, great stuff. Thanks as always, Brian.
Take care, guys.
Brian Windhorst, ESPN.com, one of our NBA writers. We are presented by Progressive Insurance on the Russillo Show. All of our guests on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, Peter Rosenberg in studio. I'm just noticing on one of the monitors in screen here, his and hers, Michael Smith, Jamel Hill are at Comic-Con. Have you ever gone to that?
No, actually, I've never. I was a little jealous. They were interviewing my guy Mike Tyson, so I was jealous. But no, I've never done Comic-Con. Even though there is a big wrestling presence there, I've never gone.
What's the wrestling equivalent of Comic-Con?
There's a thing, WrestleMania weekend, a.k.a. the greatest weekend of the year. It's
the weekend of the event.
Yeah.
How many WrestleManias have you been to?
7 out of the last 8, I think.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll be at SummerSlam this year. And then the night before SummerSlam this year at Barclays Center, they're doing an NXT show at Barclays Center. NXT is like it's like WWE's developmental.
That's that workout with the ropes.
No.
Oh.
No. It's where the wrestlers, right before they get to the main roster, they're in the NXT. They're in NXT.
It's like
NXT
AAA wrestling.
Yeah, but WWE of course owns it, and so it's awesome. And it's like they own the underground alternate version of their big show, but it's actually really good. So I'm going to that this year in New York too. But no, I've never done Comic-Con. It's wrestling for me it's the way I nerd out. That's it.
All right, man, that's cool.
You want to come sometime, by the way?
To an event?
You'd have fun. They sell beer.
Somebody tried to beat up my mom at 1 at 86, so we're good.
Oh.
And now, for Geico's edition of Stuff Found in Your Car, we go inside your side door pocket.
Hello, yes, the crumpled receipt with gum in it. From your anniversary dinner, you sprang for expensive wine, your server was Beth. That dinner was a couple $100. Money you could get back if you switched to Geico and saved hundreds of dollars on your car insurance. I bet you'd save that receipt. Frame it even. But really, where did I go wrong? Was it the corkage fee?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
We have breaking news. Arbiter Harold Henderson, who's had 42 days, now on the 43rd, to figure out what he wants to do in the Greg Hardy case. Greg Hardy was suspended 10 more games for this upcoming season, now part of the Dallas Cowboys. He has changed that 10-game suspension to a 4-game suspension. And most assumed that this would be scaled back at some point. And there was also a belief that Henderson had to make a ruling on this before Goodell could make a ruling on Brady. So there you go. So if Brady was supposed to have his 4-game suspension heard next week, then Hardy had to have this done during this week. So from 10 games to 4 games. The thing is, I think people are going to look at this and go, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. Look what he did. I know that's what people are going to say, right? Like, no one is ever going to have sympathy for Hardy, or no one's going to say to Hardy, hey, that's good. He got some of those games given back to him. But he did miss all of last season, and he is going to miss games this year. So I'm not taking his side. I'm just saying it's clear that people felt like 10 more games, at least this ruling, was just too much after everything that happened last year.
Wait, so was last year he missed the whole season for that?
Yeah, it was that commissioner's exempt list that no one had ever really heard of until everybody was put on it. Remember, Adrian Peterson was on it, and Ray Rice was going to be on it, and he ended up being released altogether. And then Hardy, because everything was different. I mean, everybody wanted more punishment, and it was good. You know, like I think people were happy to see more punishment. But the difference is we didn't see what Hardy did. We only heard what he did. And what we heard that he did is worse than maybe everyone else did collectively. You know, he threw his girlfriend on a bed of guns.
By the way, can it sound much worse? Like, it sounds so bad.
Awful. On top of her saying, I'm going to kill you. And then he's convicted of that. And then in the appeal, she doesn't show up because she gets a check because he still made his money last year. So there's going to be a lot of people that go, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. He got paid last year and he used that money to be able to pay off her so that the legal part of it wasn't even worse for Greg Hardy. And I get all of those things. But I think all those smart legal people that have been following the story for a long time knew that, and the track record has been here, that the NFL will hand out the suspension, and then it is scaled back a little bit more. So I don't know if this is a huge surprise, but there's going to be mass disappointment because it just goes, guy beat up his girlfriend, convicted of it, appeal ends up going his way, she's not there, bang, 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 you know what I mean, down the line. Now he gets a lesson. Like, oh, the NFL screwed it up again. I don't know that's always the case, even though it feels like that's what everybody always wants to do.
The thing that shocks me the most about these is how many situations there are in which this even happens. That's the thing that I really just, when you're talking about it, I'm just like, I know a lot of people And I guess you don't know if you know someone who would do something like that, but you think you'd hear about it, right? Like, I've never even known anybody where I've heard that it happened. Yet it seems like in the NFL this happens way too often. And that's, of course, the main thing I'm concerned about here is the NFL making decisions on players' punishment in a league that clearly seems to have some sort of problem with this.
Yeah, they'll tell you that if you look at the numbers, the ratio of these kinds of things just in society, and then if you look at the sports leagues, it's actually lower in the leagues, but these are all higher profile cases because they're public figures, they're with teams that we all root for, and that's why. But it's just been it's more than just saying it's a hot topic, but there's such a heightened sensitivity. We've spent so much time in the last year plus on this show talking about all these things and what's the right punishment. Because it's just when somebody's done something this horrific, you can't – the take you have on the air can't be like, well, yeah, that's good. That seemed a little too harsh, even though I'm of the belief that for the most part, your career shouldn't be completely taken away from you, unless it's somebody we're talking about that habitually does this, and I don't know if that's the case. By the way, Ed Werder was just on SportsCenter, the ESPN NFL Insiders, and actually said this was a bit more of a drop than maybe others thought.
It's amazing and seems to be a rebuke of Roger Goodell's initial punishment. To have this penalty reduced by Harold Henderson, somebody who is perceived by the players and the players union as somebody who is typically rubber-stamped NFL front office decisions on issues like this regarding discipline, this is a substantial change.
So, Henderson, that's pretty funny because the Players Association has been arguing, well, he shouldn't be able to do that. He's in the pocket of the commissioner and all this stuff. And then he comes back out and goes, 10 games, we'll go ahead and make it 4.
It is a big drop-off. And, the thing that annoys me, the Cowboys gamble just pays off. And to me, I don't like it. I said this to Cowboys fans all the time because as much as I hate the Cowboys, I try to be pretty objective when I talk about, personnel decisions. I thought it was just the Cowboys this past season showed they were as close as they've ever been, right, in a long time. During the Romo era, it's as close as they've been. And I hate the idea of adding bad locker room people to that situation. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, oh, well, they took the gamble because there was no risk financially. And I'm saying I understand there was no risk. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something else, about morally what you're putting on your football team. And now I'm sure there are Cowboys fans who are like, yes, it's only 4 games. We have this guy. I still don't think this is a good thing for the Cowboys. Looking at it from a football standpoint, I still don't think this is what you want surrounding your team, and he's not someone who I would have wanted regardless. And I am shocked.
So if the Redskins brought him in, you would have been mad about it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I am very we have for all the dumb decisions the Skins have made, we haven't had that many of those kinds of guys. We had what's-his-face, Stallworth, at the way end of his career for 2 seconds. Obviously a totally different circumstance, but I never want the trade-off for the bad just
yeah,
vibes.
But Hainsworth, if you look at Albert Hainsworth, you're not looking at it as a bad guy that gets into all this trouble, but he was maybe one of the worst teammates ever.
Oh, yeah, worst decisions ever.
Right.
But all I thought was that guy stinks. I didn't think, oh, my gosh, he's totally immoral. He's just a bad teammate. This is a different situation. I don't see why you'd want this guy around.
By the way, Hardy's new deal with the Cowboys was worth up to $13 million. It looked like he was going to lose a lot of that. He will be permitted to take part in training camp and preseason games. The suspension, now 4 games, will start September 5th.
It's the Russillo Show.
Greg Hardy's suspension reduced from 10 games to 4 games by an arbiter who said he felt like the NFL kind of dragged their feet on this. This ruling was supposed to come out before the Brady ruling. So, I'm kind of ruled out, so I don't know that we're going to do the next hour and a half of the show on that. The Russillo Show on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests in the Subway Fresh Take Hotline, Peter Rosenberg in studio, along with Herm Edwards. Herm, good to see you, man. How are you?
Good to be back, and congratulations, my friend.
On what?
You've been just hosting the show.
Oh, that's right.
With different guests. You've been doing a great job.
I appreciate
I've been listening to you.
I know you are. You just send me a text anytime.
I don't press send.
I want you to send me a text. I
don't do that text stuff. I just kind of come in and see you face to face.
So, as we just have learned about with the story, okay, we knew he was going in. Dallas wanted to bring him in, so this is more of a win for them. And I know, the easiest thing to do is go, that's ridiculous. What he did is awful. It's 10, now it's only 4. But Can anybody make sense of this stuff and how it seems to be? Here's a suspension, but then we all expect it to be reduced. This seems to be a cycle, even though this seemed to be a little bit more than others expected.
Well, obviously, historically, if you look at the NFL, and I've been involved in it a long time, player, coach, whatever you may say, the commissioner's office generally is always going to levy high, knowing that it's probably going to get to court. It's going to be in an arbitrator's hands at the end, and it's because why? Because of the face of the National Football League to the fans. I mean, what is the commissioner going to do? Whether it's right, wrong, or different, we're going high. Now, if anybody wants to cut it, that's fine. We didn't do that for the sake of our brand and everything else. This is where we're going.
If people wanted more discipline, we gave you more discipline.
We're doing it.
Yep.
And if the arbitrator comes in and says, you know what, you rule that that's too much. He's already missed how many games last year, although he was paid.
Right, the whole season,
games
basically.
last year. Right. Now he comes back and you say 10 more, and you go, no, he's only getting 4. Not surprising. It doesn't really surprise me at all. I just think if you look at historically how it works, that's generally how it works.
Okay, I think we're good on that. Ask him give him your RG3 theory.
You already want to move on? I'm happy to.
Yeah, I'm just getting that. I can smell it on you.
Well, I am. Yeah. Okay. Herm.
Yes.
You're a man of respect. Been watching you for a long, long time.
Thank you.
By the way, you look the exact same in real life. It's unbelievable. I saw you in the elevator the other day. I was like, oh my God, it's like my TV's on. Anyway, so RG3, according to Sports Illustrated, they ranked him 31st starting quarterback in the NFL. Yeah. I am very biased, but I also feel like worst case scenario, RG3 is 25. I do not believe he could be 31.
Don't worry about the rankings. It has nothing to do with how he's going to have to play this year. And I do think that he's going to play better. I think last year was a rude awakening for him. I think he needed to be a little bit of put in a humbling position. And Coach did that. Coach came in and called him out publicly.
You think that's why Coach Gruden did that, by the way?
Oh, no doubt. And really, Coach Gruden was really sending a message to the whole organization. Look, if you want me to coach this football team, this is what I'm going to do. And it's going to start with our quarterback. Because right now he's doing things that he should not do in this position that he plays. It's about the team. It's not about him. It's not about all these other things off the field, building brands and all that stuff. Look, I'm going to try to do my best to let him play quarterback. But he's going to have to understand there's some things he has to do a little bit different. And I'm okay with that. I didn't like the way he handled it in the beginning, because it was – I don't think he needed to do that. I think he called the guy in, but that's how he did. That's how he handled it. Now I think that bridge has been hopefully mended. As the season begins, we're going to see what happens.
But Herm, you got to tell me, he's not worse than Josh McCown and Brian Hoyer.
No, that's just stuff. No, I mean, the guy was the MVP of the league.
Who would you rather have going in this year, Geno Smith week 1 or Robert Griffin III?
Oh, boy. That's
I like that you picked a Jet, too.
That's a toss-up. I think both of them have something to prove. I really do. And I'm one of those guys that sits behind a microphone. I don't want players to fail. I really don't. I played in that league. I know how difficult it is, and I know how difficult it is for these quarterbacks to play. And when quarterbacks struggle, your team struggles historically, and it's bad for the game. It really is. It makes the game bad. I'm one of those guys. I want to make the game good. Okay, I want young quarterbacks that struggle early. I want to see if they're tough now, because Troy Aikman struggled early. Peyton Manning struggled early. Okay, they came out of it.
Did you coach Vinny during the?
Yeah, I had Vinny at the end. I had Vinny and Chad.
Okay, so as a kid growing up, and you probably we're roughly the same age, Ryan. You'll remember this. Vinny wasn't just bad; he was your favorite rapper ever. What'd he say? Phife Dawg.
Incomplete, same as Vinny Testaverde.
He was the standard for bad
in
for
Tampa?
a few years. Yes,
Tampa.
And then you got to be there when he became a true stud at the end of his career.
Yeah.
So things really can turn around more than people give these guys credit for.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, we lose sight of some of the great quarterbacks that struggle in their times. We forget about this. Like, oh, really, that happened? Yeah, that happened. Peyton Manning threw 27 interceptions. Really? So, no. Troy Aikman? No, he didn't. Yeah, they did. But mentally, they got through it. And that's what it takes. When a young quarterback struggles, how does he work his way back in? Now, I do think, obviously, systems are built for different players, and you have to put them in a position where they can have some success. And these coaches know this. My whole career, relies on this quarterback. And I better make him successful. And if not, guess what? As he goes, I'm going too. So that's how it works.
Yeah, and in particular this season in Washington, you can't imagine they don't have anything else in place where if RG3 is terrible, it's likely Jay Gruden comes back the next year. Because if RG3 is terrible, the team's terrible. It's not like Kirk Cousins or Colt McCoy saves that team. And I don't think
Colt could figure it out.
I don't think Jay Gruden survives another terrible year in Washington. I don't think so.
Well, it's tough. There's some quarterbacks that obviously have to play better. I mean, Robert is one. Colin Kaepernick is going to have to play well this year, I think. We know Jay Cutler's got to play well, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jay Cutler has to play well.
No, he just gets his job.
No,
every year.
Foxy is not going to allow that to happen. Trust me. He's not going to allow that.
Financially, I understand why he's back this year.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm with you. We'll see what happens because, hey, new system. Hell, man.
It'll be fun.
Ooh, he's going to look good. Tight windows, whole deal. All right, there you go. Herm Edwards. Have fun in
Tahoe.
Tahoe, that's right. Good for you, man.
Always
that's
good
awesome.
in Tahoe, man.
It's the Russillo Show.
Peter Rosenberg here in studio from Hot 97. Also, Grantland loves wrestling, is dressed worse every single day, and I've had a great time with you, man.
Thanks, man. You too. And you're right. It was a collared shirt, no hat the first day. Second day, full jersey and matching socks. Third day, the tightest wrestling shirt ever.
Right, and
and
shorts
backwards hat and the same shirt.
Yeah. Right. If we had you tomorrow, I'd say bandana, no shirt. So I'm psyched it's Friday. Show's presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. By the way, get to Subway for the new turkey and bacon guacamole today. Subway, eat fresh. All right, here's what we're going to do. The Greg Hardy stuff, 10-game suspension, no longer. Overruled, now it's 4. I don't want to turn this into an hour and a half of Greg Hardy stuff, okay? I don't want to. So we wanted to have some fun. We had this thing scheduled because Peter's here, and we're going to do it. Outsider put together a quiz. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do a little quiz. We're working on getting more so we can give you more on the Hardy stuff. If we don't get it, we'll talk about it for a few minutes. But I'm telling you right now, when you get into this how many games stuff, I don't know what to tell you. So, Outsider, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Is there a format here, or are you just attacking me?
No, honestly, I kind of let Outsider go, and more often than not, Outsider's a good corner 3 shooter, but if we had you run the point, then that's when we've had some of your we've had some weird moments. So why don't you take us through what you've planned on doing here?
I just did a simple quiz. I think it's pretty fair. I didn't just copy and paste the rap quiz. These are all written by me.
Are there a lot of rap quizzes out there to copy and paste?
They're actually a word too many to.
I'm sure there were.
Yeah.
Peter looks intense right now.
I'm a little. It's like a.
Well, Peter should win this. You're the underdog, but that.
Oh, we're going head to head.
Oh no, I'm gonna get crushed.
No, I like that better. I like that better.
I don't. That's not what you told me this was yesterday, Outside.
You just thought it was make me look bad. Now there's the chance you could look bad.
This is what you do. This is your industry.
Exactly.
And now, here's the thing, is you never once told me that it was both of us.
I like Outsider. Well done, man. Sorry I called you Outsider, Steve.
Let's just go through it, and we'll see what happens. That's how we do it anyway.
Yeah, all right. How about we go through it pre-show next time?
First question, Peter. Before serving up FM radio DJs, Nicki Minaj was serving people at which popular restaurant? TGI Fridays, Red Lobster, or Hooters?
Red Lob.
All right, that's one for Peter.
That's a layup. Were you shaking your head because it's so easy?
Well, Hooters would be ridiculous, and I just felt
especially pre-fame.
Especially pre-Hooters.
All right, Mike.
All right, Ryan, you're up. Which popular rapper had a brief stint as an offensive lineman for Albany State? Was it Rick Ross, Grand Poobah, or 2 Chainz?
It's going to be Ross.
All right, see? You're doing it.
Grand Poobah.
Yeah, Poobah didn't.
2 Chainz, forget it.
That would have been amazing, really.
Okay.
Peter, which famous rapper developed a foot fetish after working at a women's shoe store as a teenager? Tupac?
Redman.
Wow, look at this guy.
He didn't even need the music. You just threw off Mike's whole world.
Well, Redman always talked about feet. It had to be.
All right, 2-1 Peter.
Reggie.
All right, Ryan. Nas's album intro to I Am contains a sample from which popular movie? The Wizard of Oz, The Amityville Horror, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or Snowpiercer?
4 options, huh?
Yeah, I know. I made that one.
Thinking of the song in my head.
The album intro.
The album intro?
Mm-hmm.
Amityville Horror.
Got it. 2-2.
By the way, I have no recollection. But you are going so random with these questions, Outsider. I am
Yeah,
like
isn't it
shocked.
good?
Yeah, it's actually really good because they're almost low pressure questions.
How
Because,
many did you do?
4 each.
Okay.
All right, here we
Let's
go.
get moving.
Okay.
Peter, which of the following items was not found in the pockets of Biggie Smalls the night he was murdered?
Yeah, you guys can't laugh back there.
Yeah,
Marcus, you stop laughing.
I know you're
man.
laughing because it's an insane question, but continue.
Did he not have a Milky Way bar, an asthma inhaler, or condoms?
He did not have a Milky Way bar.
All right. Yep, that's another right one. You guys haven't gotten anything wrong yet.
You really think he would have had a Milky Way bar in his pocket?
You could have been hungry.
The other team seemed more important.
Yeah, exactly. I think so. For Biggie, the inhaler and the condom seemed like really necessary.
Ryan, which of the following, or who of the following cannot claim to be affiliated with the Wu-Tang Clan?
Oh, this is a joke.
Dreddy Kruger, Dom Pacino, or Frankie Cupcakes?
Oh, forget it. That got harder than I thought.
Who's not affiliated?
Yeah, I thought you were going to actually name members.
Like real members of the Wu-Tang Clan.
Not side helpers.
No, these are just affiliated.
Yeah, I'm going to say the first guy's out.
Dreddy Kruger?
Yeah.
No.
He's in. He's in. It's the Cupcakes guy. It's got to be.
Cupcakes.
If that's a made-up person, that is not a real person.
So this is for the win for Peter.
Come on, finish him.
Who is the first rapper to ever win a Grammy Award? MC Hammer, Eminem, Will Smith, or Vanilla Ice?
There it is. Finish it up.
You want the last one anyways?
Yeah.
All right, Ryan.
Victory. This is just a victory question now.
In the movie Juice, you remember Juice? That's a good one.
You got the juice now, Mike.
What was the name of Samuel L. Jackson's character? Was it Scuzz, Trip, Mr. Chan, or Silk?
Scuzz.
No, Trip.
I didn't know. That was a very tough question. Well, congratulations to me. I am the champion of winning totally obscure random
I'm in love
trivia.
with the go-go.
That's right.
Nice work.
Thanks.
That was good. That was good.
Dude, Dreddy Kruger is so tight at you right now. Unbelievable that you said that.
I'm going to blow him up right now on Twitter. Yeah, I didn't know. When you were like, you got mad thinking how easy the question was going to be.
Yeah, well, I thought it was like, is it Ghostface Killah, Raekwon, or John?
Right.
And you would have been like, oh, okay, it's John. He wasn't in Wu-Tang Clan. But then where do you get these questions from, dude?
It was all research I was doing last night.
That's good to know because he usually gets home, eats a Hungry Man, smokes a pack, plays
games.
Where are you right now with that?
I'm 43% now. I've moved on to Batman. I put Witcher down to play Batman. I'm 43% into Batman.
Great to know. So Greeny dropped this on us. This is a while ago. And he thinks he's really good at this too, right? Yeah. Greeny does this on Mike and Mike when he does it like he's playing around, but deep down
like he thinks he's good.
I'm killing it, right? And as we have our man from Hot 97 in, let us know how you feel.
Basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way they dribble up and down the court. Just like I'm the king on the microphone, so is Dr. J and Moses Malone. I like slam dunks that take me to the hoop. My favorite play is the alley-oop. I like the pick and roll. I like the give and go, because it's basketball with Mr. Curtis Flow.
Okay, I'm going to say the truth. He is totally adequate at that, which is exactly why when you rate the greatest rap music of all time, no one rates anything from the mid-'80s, or except for, Run DMC and the best stuff.
You say the bars are a little basic.
I mean, listen, and no disrespect to the great Curtis Blow, who had some fantastic moments, but his lyrics on Basketball, which is that song right there, not exactly mind-blowing, because the fact that Greeny actually sounds basically as good as Curtis Blow, it really upsets me.
Okay,
but did you hear the accent he put on, by the way?
Yeah, trust me, he was doing it in the car probably 7 times. Like he's on with Vince. Or wait a minute, he'd be on with Ray going, hey, we're doing the basketball rap, right? All right, I got it nailed. Here's Colin trying to do your man Hove.
I dumbed down for my audience to double my dollars. They criticize me for it, yet they all yell holla. If skills sold, truth be told, I'd probably lyrically Talib Kweli. What is it? Talib Kweli. He's supposed to be lyrically great. Truthfully, I want to rhyme like common sense, but I did $5 million. I ain't been rhyming like common since.
Oh, man.
I was in the car. I immediately show up. I go, I'm like 10-17. Cut up that. I need to hear it.
I hope Waleed's gotten to hear that.
Yeah, and who, by the way, lyrically is supposed to be outstanding.
It's fantastic.
And one more for you. This is more our speed.
Bum stiggity bum, hon, I got the old parum pum pum pum.
That's good.
But I can fee-fi fo fum diddly bum, here I come. So Peter Piper, I'm hyper than Pinocchio's nose. I'm the supercalifragilistic tic-tac pro. I gave my oopsie daisy, now you've got the crazy. Crazy with the books, googly goo, where's the gravy?